I've preached on this exact passage several times in the past, so many of my coworkers at Church Anywhere and First Capital are probably going to give me a hard time about coming back to this passage. But over the last couple of weeks, it seems like this story in John chapter 5 has been popping up all over the place in my life. The story goes like this. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, is a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. And here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. And one had been there for 38 years, and he was an invalid. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition a long time, he asked him, get this, do you want to be well? Do you want to get well? What a question. On the surface, I'm thinking, yeah, Jesus, I want to get well. I've been here for 38 years. What do you think I've been doing here? But that's only on the surface because, Jesus has this way of speaking words that penetrate to the depths of our soul. And he says, do you want to get well? In context, this man had not had to work for a long time. He hadn't had to find his own food. He hadn't had to do anything but wait around this pool, hoping that someone would help him for 38 years. For him to get well meant that other aspects of his life would become uncomfortable. Jesus is asking him to give up the comfort of his life in exchange for the ability to be well. Now for us, seems like an obvious answer. But if that answer was obvious, we wouldn't have drug problems or alcohol problems or relational problems, because if getting well were easy, we would all want it. So Jesus asked, do you want to get well? But I think he really meant, are you ready for what it takes to make you well? The story continues. Sir, the invalid replied, I have no one to help me get into the pool when the water stirred. Now, while I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. And then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat and walk. And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. This man at some point decided that, he wanted to be well. He chose to be well, and then Jesus healed him. He decided that being well would be worth having to work for the first time in 38 years. It'd be worth having to take care of himself relationally and financially and for survival. He decided he wanted to be well. So here's where we are as a culture. I can't help but feel like Jesus is asking us, do you guys want to be well? And on the surface, I think many of us would say, well, duh, Jesus, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Our country is completely divided in many regards, and we don't even know if there's an end in sight. Of course we want to be well. But that's only on the surface. Because if Jesus is really asking us if we want to do what it takes to be well, I'm not sure I would come up with that same response. I'm not sure any of us would. What I've been learning and praying through this whole time is that becoming well requires putting my faith in the one that makes me well, but it also means embracing the discomfort of the pruning that happens in order to make me well. This man had to learn how to live life not as an invalid, and for us, we might have to become uncomfortable with some of our beliefs and biases and influences. I've made the decision that I want Jesus to make me well, and this whole season's been so uncomfortable to learn about my shortcomings and my resentment and where I need to improve. Jesus has made me spiritually well, and now I have to continue to learn how to live in that wellness. So the question is this: do you want to be well?